Are you afraid of vampires? Is a question a girl asked me long ago on a bone-chilling winter night. If I remember correctly, I was standing alone on the sidewalk of this desolate corner of the city. Beaten down Delhi, as the locals call it. The sky was cloaked with clouds and the air was thick with mist. Most daily laborers laid out in streets with booze in hand after a day of hard work. Stray dogs roamed the corners eating whatever the drunks dropped behind them. The young lady moved closer with a bleak red grin. She was wearing a beautiful flowing red dress. Her long pale neck was adorned with stacks of pearl necklaces. On her Victorian bonnet hat was a long black feather. Black as her long shimmering hair. Are you afraid of vampires? She asked again. I was too tired and too poor to care. I believe such a thing doesn't exist, madam, I replied to her. My mind was somewhat mystified by this brave, wealthy-looking woman and her smile. What kind of twisted motive this woman was hiding? She opened up her black leather purse and pulled out a book with a thick black cover. That is one good-looking book, madam. Must be very expensive, I said without a thought. Sleeping on the streets for so many days changes the perspective of a man. This is an occult book of dark arts, demons, and vampire summoning written by the infamous Mad Arab. But why are you telling me all this? I asked. I heard somewhere that you know a thing or two about occult practices, she replied. I wonder where she got this idea. I was a loner, a guy who worked as a daily wage laborer all around the city. I never had an address or made any friends. I looked over her shoulder. There was an antique car parked on the main road. The driver, dressed in a black tuxedo, stood leaning next to it. She handed over that book to me. Necronomicon was written in bold letters on front cover. Obviously, this can't be the real thing, I thought. But then again, everything can be bought with a suitable price. I am sure the wealthy lady had connections. I thought if I read this book in a haunted street such as this one, maybe I can summon a vampire, she said. She obviously was interested in occult arts. Rich housewives who have too much free time and flow of cash and no idea where to spend it. Now wait a minute, who said the street is haunted? I said. I saw the news covering the murders that took place here. Bodies ripped apart, their organs spread in the shape of a pentagram, she replied. I don't think vampires can be summoned, madam, I said. She opened the book and turned some pages. She held the book against my face and pointed at some obscure writings. Here, it says if you read this it will summon a vampire, she said. I looked it over. She mistranslated the word blood elemental with bloodsucker. An honest mistake, I thought. But still, I was amazed by the authenticity of the ancient writings. Can this book truly be a real Necronomicon? The most coveted and forbidden tomb of ancient rituals. But how can she have it? She can't just be any casual person. I suddenly noticed she caught me staring at her big black shimmering eyes. Why you want to summon a vampire anyways? What are you planning to do after that? I asked. Vampires know the secret to eternal youth, she replied. And I need it. Everything and everyone has a price. Name yours, she said. She looked around and said, So what do you think? Are you going to help me or not? Get in my car, she said with a smile. I can make this worth your while if you help me with this. The night was now complete with thick black clouds which covered the half-moon. Even the vagabonds of the streets went away deep into their corners and caves for the coming cold night. Who said I know anything about this? I said. Look at me. I can't even read. I said. I know a person who specializes in occult and he told me to look for a guy like you here, she said. Look for a homeless man, you mean? I scoffed. I think I knew who she was talking about. He was a rich aristocrat who hung out with social elites and looked down upon folks like us. I looked at the writing for a moment and looked back at her. This here says the spell requires free-flowing fresh human blood, I said, pointing towards the writing on the page. I have to discourage her from miscasting this horrific spell. Yes, I know, she said again with her smile, and I was hoping you could help. Then with utmost haste, she pulled out a dagger and stabbed me straight in my stomach. So you can read, she said with a sadistic smile while twisting the dagger inside me. It was plunged deep up to the hilt. The hilt had a huge red bloodstone at the end and the carvings on it looked artsy and cliché. Like some cult leader was trying too hard to make his sacrificial knife look demonic. Honestly, now that I remember it, I was kind of startled by it. And to her amazement, not a single drop of blood came out of me. "Madam," I said, "vampires can't be summoned, they can only be made." I pierced her neck and drank her dry. Obviously, I kept the fancy dagger and I threw her hollow body on the streets for dogs. That night I slept satisfied with the Necronomicon by my side. Does this answer your question?